we see yesterday that the ACC put out a 11-game schedule that also included Notre Dame. So that's the fall, and there have been a lot of conversations about what is going to be open for quote-unquote fall sports, because I believe one of the stipulations with NCAA is that if you're going to play football, for instance, I believe your campus has to be open, but it might be different from campus to campus. And exactly where does that sit? Well, if we need to go to a smart person, we go to Todd Woodcroft. That's what we do on this show, the head coach of the University of Vermont. Good morning, Todd.
Morning, gentlemen. How's everybody doing today in Toronto? How's the weather there, first of all? Is it hot and sticky, or what's going on?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Smoking. It's now Dave's not huge on the Humidex and 40 degrees.
Humidex sucks, Todd.
No.
I hate Humidex. I don't need to live in a sauna.
Yeah, you want to live in a movie theater. If you gave him his choice, he'd be like in Cedar Brae Mall, like tucked in back in one of those old.
Thank you. Yes.
Cedar Brae Mall. That was a little bit haunted when I was younger. Oh, I did some great stuff at Cedar Brae.
The Swiss chalet chicken if you get him out of his comfort zone. So we don't want to have
Look at this guy. Eh?
Oh, that's why he got the job. That's why he got the job. By the way, so the last time, it's like a soap opera. The last time we talked to Todd Woodcroft, you had just been hired, and now you have been doing some hiring, my friend, and you now have a staff that was announced. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the first thing is we haven't announced our full staff. We've actually only announced parts of our staff right now. And yesterday, big pieces of our staff were added at the University of Vermont. We retained a man by the name of Jeff Hill, who's an alumni of the team. He graduated in 2008. I don't even know what I was doing in 2008, but it certainly wasn't playing college hockey. And Jeff Hill has been retained, and rightfully so. This is a young man who, his coaching career might only be 5 or 6 years old, but he is a detailed guy. He's very organized. He's a goaltender himself, so he's able to speak a language to those weird people who stand in the back of the ice there that you don't really know what they're saying sometimes, and being able to manage them. And he did a heck of a job last year. We had basically the goalie of college hockey, who's now graduated, moved on, but he was able to manage him. And then even his details going forward of how we're going to use him, his role going to change and evolve. He had lots more responsibilities, so he's staying on. That was never going to be in doubt for me. He's an excellent person and a great piece of the staff. And then we added 2 volunteer people yesterday. We added somebody by the name of Mark Stewart, who's a longtime NHL player, played in Winnipeg, as Dave would tell you, and had started his career in Boston with the Bruins as a first-round pick of the Bruins way back in 2003. And Mark Stewart is one of those people that are so hard to find, and the yardstick I used for him is someone that a lot of people in Toronto would be familiar with, would be a man by the name of Adam Graves, who his personality and his work ethic and his leadership and his ability to make people feel good about themselves in every single situation, and you just want to be around him. And if I use Adam Graves as an example, to me that's about the biggest yardstick you can give somebody. And Mark Stewart to me is that person, and he wants to be a coach, and he's just essentially retired from playing. He went over and finished his career in Europe, so there's an ability that he has that I certainly don't have, having never played in the National Hockey League, to be able to converse with the players about different details of their game and how to train and what to do right so they can pursue their goal of playing in the National Hockey League. Especially for him, too, being a defenseman, the smallest details of where your feet go, how you have your left knee on the inside of somebody's right knee in front of the net, and where to have your hands tied over a stick, and details that casual fans don't really think about. Mark will be able to do that with our defensemen. And then I think the last piece, which is, in Toronto, which would probably be newsworthy and why I was invited on the show today, would be we added MIke Babcock to come onto our staff as a volunteer advisor to the coaches.
What does that exactly mean, volunteer advisor? Will he be on the bench? Will he be at practice? Will you see him like once in a while? Explain that to our audience, Todd.
Well, the first thing is I actually offered to switch paychecks with him if he wanted to, and we could take the term volunteer off of his title. But For a volunteer coaching advisor, we're using an NCAA football model where coaches are allowed to have coaching advisors, people who are around the coaching staff, able to be a resource for the coaches to help out in any situation. Obviously, that's a recruiting tool for anybody to know that they're walking into UVM and they have a person of MIke Babcock's pedigree that's there to help this program. And you know, for everybody to understand, I want everyone to know that this was Mike's idea. So Mike called me about 7 or 8 weeks ago and asked me what I was going to do with my staff. And, you know, he said, what about if I come on your staff? And Mike being Mike, I thought he was joking. And I said, yeah, for sure. You know, like, you know, I can get you a student pass at the cafeteria. You know, we can pay you probably $8 an hour. You know, and I even made a joke. I said, yeah, I'm happy to be your mentor, you know, like whatever it is. But now it's evolved into this thing where this man is full tilt about being a UVM Catamount. I spent the weekend with him last weekend at his place in Michigan, and we went through all parts of our systems. I was able to defend what I believe in. He was able to defend what he believes in. It was great for me to be able to bounce systematic ideas that I have off of him, and some that he agrees with and some that he disagrees with. And then really it's an opportunity for me to get better. It's an opportunity for all the other coaches on our staff to get better. We still have one more role to fill that will be coming shortly. We've identified the person that we want to have. There's a hiring freeze in the state of Vermont right now, so we got to get through that. But you know, those are pretty big pieces. And I know that any young player that's coming in, and even the players that are recurring players at the University of Vermont, for them to see MIke Babcock in the stands, and Dave kind of answered your question there, that the plan for him is to be around. Well, he's going to go hunting and do what he likes to do all of the fall, but it doesn't look like Hockey East will be playing right off the bat. There might be a small delay. The goal for Hockey East, which I was so proud to be a member of Hockey East when they came out and they were aggressive with the schedule and to say, we're looking to play as close to 30 games as we can. That might be 32 games. It might be 28, who knows, but we're going to play as close to a full schedule as we can. So for our athletes to be able to understand that MIke Babcock not only is watching them, but MIke Babcock and Mark Stewart and Jeff Hill and the other gentlemen that we're going to add and myself, we care about these people as individuals and as players. And Mike is Mike. He's calling me all the time. He's talking about players. He's been on Zoom calls with the teams and with the team, and all the guys are just really, really excited to see someone like Mike there. And then of course, Mark Stewart and Jeff has been a mainstay. So it's pretty good stuff. I'm really excited about it.
It's amazing. Now, regardless of, you know, his last circumstance here in Toronto, the fact is, you know, his Rolodex in his mind is enormous. His background in collegiate sports is, or at least it should be well known. So working with that age group for him is actually very natural. Like there's some coaches, as you know, in the show, just like there are in other sports, it's more of there's a certain age group that they're better with. You know, there's a certain group of players that they communicate better with. He will have no problem, as you know, talking to those young players, and they'll look at him like basketball players would look at Mike Krzyzewski. I mean, he really is that big. So to have that bounce off you, but so the call came out of the blue?
Yeah, it came in. Now I'll rephrase that by saying Mike and I will speak often. Times a year we visit. You know, our families have been intertwined for a long time. My younger brother Jay worked with him in Detroit in the Red Wings, and you know, one of the coaches I coached with in Winnipeg, Jamie Compon, and Mike had played together. And you just, in the NHL Coaching Association, there's a fraternity there where all the coaches are very friendly. We meet as a group once a year at the draft, and you get to know everybody. And even when I got the job at UVM, I had probably 21, 22 head coaches from the league reach out and call me, like, you know, dozens of assistant coaches call me just to say congratulations. And then when Mike called, I saw the phone and I thought it would just be another one of those congratulatory calls that I would have expected from Mike in any situation in my life, because that's how he's always been with me. And it was when I ended the phone call, I remember putting the phone down and thinking, okay, am I getting punked right now? Like, where's the camera? Like, what's happening? And then calling the athletic director, Jeff Schulman, and saying, hey, I want to talk about adding somebody to the staff. And the most important part to that to me is that he has done this selflessly. He has done this graciously. He's offered He doesn't want anything. He just wants to help. He wants to help the next generation of players. He wants to share his knowledge, which, Mike, as you said, he's forgotten more about hockey than any of us are ever going to know. And we're very excited about that, for him to be a piece of this coaching team.
So your relationship with Mike Babcock probably goes back to before 2004, correct?
Yeah, I knew him a little bit when he first came into the league. I came into the league in 2000. He was still in the American League just at that point. His first coaching job was with Anaheim, and we had coached against him. We were both selected to be part of Hockey Canada's 2004 Men's World Championship team in Prague. And I remember meeting him. He actually picked me up at the airport, and he had been in Anaheim. I had been in Minnesota, and we had had some battles in the past, and actually they had knocked us out of the playoffs when I was with the Wild the year before in 4 straight. And as everybody knows, Mike is a pretty direct person, and he got right to the point as soon as I got in the car. His first question was, anything else was that, tell me about Jacques Lemaire. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing fine, thank you. My bags are coming. It was a good flight. I'm excited to be here. And all he wanted to know was about Jacques Lemaire and how Jacques, he wanted to know everything about Jacques. And he wanted to know how Jacques treated the team, how he treated the media, how Jacques would deal with star players, how he would deal with players who were healthy scratchers. And then if you come full circle in this whole situation, Jacques was actually in a similar situation for Mike with the Maple Leafs. So Jacques, I don't know how much people knew that, but Jacques was really a coaching mentor for Mike. So Mike being a 5-time gold medalist by this point, and Mike being a Stanley Cup winner, and at that point would have had over 1,000 NHL games as a coach, he understood that every coach is never really finished learning. Every coach is constantly working to get better. So for someone of Mike's stature to come in and help myself and help the other coaches on this staff, this is a resource for us. It's like a free PhD university degree every single moment that we're around this guy to just challenge us. And he's not afraid to challenge us, not at all. And as we've seen on Zoom calls, he'll say exactly what he thinks. And that's going to force our coaches outside of our comfort zone, which is what we want to do to our players. So in one sense, it's keeping the coaches honest and keeping the coaches on their toes and keeping us current and relevant in different ways of looking at the game that a lot of the coaches and staff haven't had that opportunity yet to coach at the NHL level or play at the NHL level. So this is going to be a huge, huge piece of our team going forward.
Well, I also think too, it's huge for the University of Vermont. I mean, that is a pretty big piece in terms of recognition for the program. I think eventually for, recruiting, like where do you want to go? What does that staff look like? I can't see how there'd be a lot of hockey parents, especially in that part of the country, and those that are involved in Hockey East, because when you look at who's in that is a pretty tough division to come out of. There are a lot of great programs in Hockey East. So I think the university has to be pretty impressed by the fact that someone like Mike Babcock wants to be a part of the University of Vermont, and that is actually on your watch.
Well, his son had actually played in Hockey East for 4 years and was a captain. His son's name's Mike as well, and Mike Jr. had been the captain at Merrimack for 4 years. So Mike was familiar with Hockey East. I think the respect he had for the conference was massive. I mean, you see coaches that are in that conference right now who I believe will be coaching in the NHL. You got Nate Lehman in Providence, who's an unbelievable coach. You got a guy by the name of Greg Carvel at UMass. Norm Bazin, UMass Lowell. And I can go down the list of every single one of these teams has accomplished coaches. Jerry York in the conference. So these are, coaches who are Hall of Fame coaches. But for me to be able to draw on somebody like Mike Babcock, that would be the equivalent of having, Bill Belichick or Phil Jackson, somebody around that you can just pick up a phone and call and say, hey, what do you think about this hockey problem? Or how would I solve this problem with a certain situation that happens inside the locker room? And that's a huge advantage for me as a new head coach in Hockey East to be able to have someone to help me navigate those waters. It's a great tool for me because, as everybody knows, the coach is really just steering a rudder of a ship, and nobody sees our feet underneath the water going back and forth, back and forth. And if I'm able to kind of use that rudder of having Mike's experience and the other coaches on our staff having the ability to call him and talk to him and just run ideas by him. I think that's going to be a huge thing. And his attitude as a coach, how he wants his players to never be full, to never, ever be satisfied, always wanting more, always wanting to get better. That's something that's going to rub off on our coaching staff. It's going to rub off on our players. And it's, at the end of the day, the University of Vermont's going to be a better program because of it.
Todd, we got about 10 seconds here. You leave for the University of Vermont when?
At the middle of August, about the August 15th, right around there.
You going to get a haircut too, or
no.
Really?
I'm hoping Master Cuts has got a I'm going to call ahead right now because apparently my barber from Don Mills, his name's Louis. If Louis ever sees this right now, he's going to probably just say, I have nothing to do with that guy.
Yeah. See, you want to get your haircut from a guy named Louis. You don't want to go to like the shops at Don Mills where there's some guy's name is Francois.
You got to go to Parkwood's Village and get Louis.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Absolutely. I go to Don Mills. I'm still looking for the old liquor store. People are like, no, it's not here anymore.
Yeah. I had a ID back then, Mike. I think I still have it in my phone.
Todd, great to have you on the show, buddy, and nice to hear things are going so well and progressing, which is great. I think also for hockey in general and young people in collegiate sports. You know, I kind of feel for them because everyone's kind of unsure about where it's going to be, but the fact that people are still making their way through and planning forward, I think is really important. And to hear what the staff that you so far have announced, pretty impressive. So congratulations on that, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon sometime, Todd.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you very much.